We hear all this alarmist talk about a constitutional crisis. What does that mean, anyway? What is the Constitution ultimately? The Constitution is a piece of paper you can wipe your ass with. It has no meaning. Look at the Bible, the book that is supposedly the Word of God, a book that civilization has been built on with rules and laws and commandments on how to live. Again, what is it really? Some words printed on paper. Paper that you could rip up. The Bible ultimately has no meaning. Ask yourself, do people still cheat, lie, murder, and steal? Nothing happens if you violate the Bible, and nothing happens if you violate the Constitution. And the people who violate the Bible and the Constitution have known this for a long time. If you don't think Trump is already beyond imagining a third term, and scheming to make it a reality, you have been dangerously naive. This is a man who doesn't believe in the Constitution, the Bible, or any contract or laws, even the ones he signs, unless it benefits him. The mainstream media and legal scholars and Democrats stand there like it's the 19th century, writing articles and letters and op-ed pieces. What do they all have in common? Paper, on paper, again, meaningless, wringing their hands like their opinions are ever going to count, like their opinions matter. They never counted, they never mattered, except their public weakness ensured that the greedy power brokers could do exactly what they want and no one would stop them. You hear them say, oh, Mr. Trump seems to be testing the limits. Mr. Trump is threatening norms. Mr. Trump is upending tradition. Even calling him Mr. Trump is a sign of obsequious glad-handing and deference as he spits in your face. It seems like Mr. Trump is testing the trajectory of his phlegm. Start calling him an illegally elected, illegitimate petty despot, and it might have some impact. But I don't see the New York Times or CNN or MSNBC doing that, even though that's precisely what he is. The Republicans have the majority in Congress, the Senate, and the courts. What's their motivation to play by the losers' laws when they've already won? The Constitution? The rule of law? I mean, we're so far past that. They hear him muse and wax rhapsodically about a third term and beyond, and wonder if he's serious. He's serious. He's totally serious. And like all these other things, what's to stop him? If he loses an election, he'll just say it's illegitimate. Only this time, he will be in the White House, not on the outside looking in. Mr. Trump and his corrupt criminal cronies and hapless hooligans and brain-dead band of brothers are daring the country and the world. And you don't have to be smart to dare people and challenge them. In fact, it's better to be dumb because you don't consider the consequences. Committing ethnic cleansing and genocide and other war crimes in Gaza? What are you going to do about it? Negotiating the Ukraine war without Ukraine? What are you going to do about it? Screwing the working class, the farmers, African Americans, women, any minorities that voted for him with tariffs and higher prices and a stripping away of all protections designed to make things a little more fair and just a little? All gone. What are you going to do about it? Supporting a pro-Nazi party in Germany? What are you going to do about it? Having unelected neo-Nazis, or at least neo-Nazi sympathizers, working at the highest echelons of our own government, what are you going to do about it? A neo-imperialistic, neo-colonialist policy of simply taking over other countries like Canada and Greenland while our own country collapses? What are you going to do about it? Replace education and knowledge with propaganda and lies? What are you going to do about it? placing immigrants and political prisoners and others in private prisons, call them what you want, internment camps euphemistically, concentration camps hyperbolically, but unquestionably built for profit and torture and expanding slavery. What are you going to do about it? And worse, these are all distractions, sleight of hands from the real horrors and atrocities they plan to commit, like telling you what gender you are, what medicines you can and can't take so that more will die and get out of the way, and saving money on Medicare and Social Security. That's called cutting expenditures, and what you can or cannot do with your own body and your mind, telling you what to think, what you can read, rewriting history. And they know, most importantly, that you will do most of the work, that you will censor yourself to stay safe and thus do most of the job for them. The mainstream media doesn't even ask these questions because they believe in the status quo and maintaining it. So they accept these premises instead of challenging them. That's why they will never deliver the truth. And that's why, as part of a system of oppression, they must go too. This is all intended to scare you into silence and complicity and paralysis. If you're scared, you will do what he says. Stop and look around you in every direction. Isn't that what's happening? And the media wants you to be scared too, and hope you will keep running back to them for answers which they will never give you, because that is their business model. Scaring people means higher readership and viewership and profits. And this is in no way any sort of endorsement for the Democrats. They are enablers of this tyranny. They didn't have the balls to stop the genocide in Gaza and get out. We have been in numerous forever wars for generations around the world, and Clinton and Obama and Biden just perpetuated them, sometimes in secret. They knew this was coming and did nothing, and the Democrats that had the vision and balls were silenced. And we know who they are: Sanders, Ocasio-Cortez, Omar, Warren, Schiff. And as I've said before, they should leave the party and start a new one. If they left the party together and had a press conference announcing a third party, wouldn't you pay attention? Trump would. That would be a threat to Trump's dominance. I think it's good to streamline the government. There is a lot of waste. The Pentagon has tens of trillions of dollars unaccounted for. That money could solve all the world's problems. But that money won't be found. Instead, that money will continue to be wasted in different ways that will enrich Trump and Musk and their Cretan-esque cronies. And remember, once you trim the bureaucracy, you've lost a vital element in any chance of revolution, because the bureaucracy controls and manipulates the information independent of the executive branch of government. Any successful revolution will require the cooperation of the military and the bureaucracy, both of which are under siege by the Trump administration because they know that and want to make sure their tyrannical reign is not overthrown. If you throw out the minorities, the ethnic and gender minorities, and are left with a white army, and you destroy the independent bureaucracy and replace it with loyalists, the chances of those two institutions playing a role in any coup d'etat becomes virtually nil. And as good intentioned as it is, I don't believe in writing letters to your congressman or any other protest where there isn't something scary behind it. Marches and protests only matter if there are threats of action behind them. You continue doing this to us, and we will do this to you. Are we ready for strikes and sacrifice and violence? We have to stop worrying about equality. There will never be equality in this system. We need to focus on liberation of all people from this system, the creation of a new system in which all people are free. And Trump and the Republicans and Musk and also the Democrats, that's their system, and they want to keep you imprisoned within it, not free. Unless Trump and his fascism is what you want. Somebody wants it. Some would say a majority wants it. Perhaps more people want order than liberty. More people want humiliation and slavery than freedom. Maybe you even secretly enjoy it in a way that you can't even admit to your conscious self, not just for others, but for yourself. That seemingly perverse desire might seem counterintuitive, but many philosophers and psychiatrists will tell you that it's not. And in Trump, that desire is met. He feeds that by making you think he cares about you despite all the lifetime of evidence that he doesn't. Weird. But humans are weird, especially today. And part of that weirdness is our dichotomy between what we think is normal desire and this other, deeper, stranger, repellent desire. Our hate and our love and our need and our want synthesizing into an amalgam that we might dispute, but our actions confirm, like the election of Trump. If you want to understand Trump's colonialist, imperialist, acquisitive impulse, look at Trump's golf course in Mar-a-Lago in Florida, two of the whitest places in America, unless you're a slave laborer performing menial, humiliating tasks there. They are both built on Native American lands. The Seminoles were destroyed in a series of atrocities we euphemistically call wars, but were really lopsided genocides. And then the settlers came in and settled the land. Settlers, that's a euphemism. We think of expressions like settlers positively. This country was founded by settlers. But what is a settler? Settlers are interlopers and murderers. Settlers are colonialists who take what isn't theirs and use violence to do it. Settlers kill women and children. Settlers are people who killed and slaughtered and stole the land from the people who lived there first. Imagine if the workers at the golf club in Mar-a-Lago went on strike and refused to return unless they were given part ownership of the club or a partnership with Trump. What if they occupied the club or the hotel like the Native Americans at Alcatraz? And they would have to be prepared to be fired or removed by force, but would need to organize the other workers in the area to not accept the suddenly vacant jobs. What if they demanded full ownership of the club and hotel? Would Trump negotiate or would he open fire? Would he try to force the workers back on the job? Could he? Would that succeed? Would he bus workers in from different parts of the state, different parts of the country, different parts of the world? Would he need to create a new slave class? And would those potential workers refuse those jobs or fight back? What if the remainder of the Native Americans and the workers joined together in a coalition? Are we going to do any of these things? Are we going to strike and occupy and threaten and follow through on our threats and act outside of this irretrievably and hopelessly warped and broken system and start alternative parties for the dissatisfied and unheard? Or are we going to let the Democrats tell us there's nothing we could do except for vote for their impotence and uselessness that got us here in the first place and maintain the status quo? I guess what I'm saying is, what are you going to do about it? Are we going to do any of these things? Are we going to strike and occupy and threaten and follow through on our threats and act outside of this irretrievably and hopelessly warped and broken system and start alternative parties for the dissatisfied and unheard? Or are we going to let the Democrats tell us there's nothing we can do except for vote for their impotence and uselessness that got us here in the first place and maintain the status quo? I guess what I'm saying is, what are you going to do about it?